Hey guys, this is your boy here, Mr. V, DJ Who Knows. I just wanna put my opinions, man, around Floyd Mayweather's career and how I see it. This whole thing that Floyd is the fraud. Floyd is the biggest darker in boxing. Floyd is cherry picking his opponents. Floyd is running from the ring. All those things that people say about Floyd Mayweather. Now, if you don't know much about Floyd Mayweather, you'll make your mind up from those things that are being said. As a result, the casual fans, most of them, they hate Floyd Mayweather because that's how he's being perceived, man. That's how they report about Floyd Mayweather. Even the media itself, they discredit Floyd Mayweather with whatever he does. Even him, he said it the other day, no matter what I do, no matter what happens, I always lose. As a result, Mayweather, apart from making money, a lot of money, and beating the hell out of these guys, he's still a biggest loser because whatever he does, people blame, they discredit him. They never gave him credit for whatever happens. Floyd Mayweather is the only champion who has only fought champions for the past 8 years. If you go back from 2006, Carlos Beltran fight, the Argentinian boxer was a champion. Up to today, all the guys that he was fighting were the champions, right? And no other boxer has done that in the past 8 years. No other boxer has done that. But he's being presented to the world as the darker, who's fighting for money, who's cherry picking, is going for slower opponents, is fighting bums. All these world champions at their division are bums when it comes to fighting Floyd Mayweather, because in a way that says a lot about his greatness. If he's fighting the guys, Shane Mosley was a champion and he was number 3 pound for pound at the time. But still, when he lost to Floyd, everybody was saying, yeah, Floyd ducked Mosley all these years, he waited for him to be old. Now, what is interesting is actually the opposite is the truth. When Floyd Mayweather around 2004, 5, even 2006, he kept calling out Oscar De La Hoya, he kept calling out Shane Mosley. Remember that time, these were the champions. These were the pound for pound top guys at the time. Now, Floyd Mayweather was calling these guys out. Guess what? Even the HBO commentators, they were making excuses for Mosley and De La Hoya, saying, now for Mosley, the fighting Floyd is a huge risk and is worth nothing. It's not gonna make them anything. Seriously, when Mayweather right now, they blaming him, saying, yeah, he's fighting for money. At the time, around 2005, 2006, Mayweather was fighting at pay-per-view, but he was only making around 350,000 pay-per-views. And they were criticizing him for that, saying, yeah, he's not selling. Now he's a cash cow. He's the most selling boxer, and they criticizing him for that. Yeah, selling doesn't mean you're good. But at the time when he was not selling, they were criticizing him for not selling. This is how difficult it is to be Floyd Mayweather. And I'll tell you at the end of this video why I think is the case. Right? No other boxer, as I said before, no other boxer has fought only the champions since 2006 up to today. I mean, Floyd Mayweather defeated Marcos Maidana with a majority decision, which I think it should have been a unanimous decision. Yes, the fight was competitive, but it should have been a unanimous decision, 116-112. That score was fair for me. And then he was criticized before he fought the guy. His fight is unifying the division, WBC, WBA belts with another champion, and is being criticized for doing that. They say he's cherry picking this guy is slow, Mayweather is gonna pick this guy apart. I mean, in a way, he's being criticized for being so good. Because this guy, nobody is saying anything about Floyd's disadvantages here. Floyd is 37, this guy is 30. 7 years difference. That's the age advantage for Maidana. This guy is naturally bigger. I mean, at the fight night, this guy came in at 165 to only 148 that Floyd came. Nobody is mentioning all those things. This guy is a very hard hitter. It's a very dangerous fight for Floyd. But no, because Mayweather is so great. Instead of saying Mayweather is so great, they're saying this guy is slow, this guy is a bum, all those things. Right? Like I said, no other boxer has done what Mayweather has done at welterweight and the super welterweight. Nobody. Floyd beat the number one super welterweight in Canelo. Even now, after the loss to Mayweather, Canelo is still number one super welterweight. Right? He beat him. If you go to the rankings, man, the number one super welterweight and the number three super welterweight right now, which is Cotto. Floyd Mayweather beat those guys, and that's not even his natural weight. Floyd is a welterweight, but he goes up and fight those guys. He got discredited for fighting Canelo at catchweight. People saying, yeah, he fought at catchweight, he trained this guy. But what is interesting is Floyd couldn't even make that 152. But he still doesn't get that credit for that. He came fight night with Canelo, he came at 146, Canelo came at 165. 19 pounds difference. With the age, with the power, all these things are advantages to Canelo, but nobody's mentioning all that. All they know is to discredit Floyd. Whatever he does, he just doesn't win. When he fought Maidana, they said he was going to pick this. This was an easy fight, right? Had Mayweather outclassed this guy, like people expected him to, still he was going to be criticized as he was already criticized. This was an easy fight for him. And he was criticized for that. Now the fight was not as easy as people thought it was. And he's being criticized again. Yeah, he's no longer the same, he's old, that he's being exposed, it shows he's just not that great. I mean, why? People, please, can you give this guy a break? Now, let me tell you why I think people are treating him like this. The main reason is they hate the hell out of him. And the reason they hate him is because he's black. Nothing else. I'll tell you why I say that. When Bradley defeated Manny Pacquiao via a controversial split decision, he was receiving death threats from the Americans, not from people from Philippines, the Americans, because he is black. They hate these guys because they are black. What is interesting, they forever spoke about this thing. Yeah, Manny was robbed by Bradley and stuff like that. But when Manny Pacquiao robbed Marquez 3 times, it was never that big. Instead, they kept making excuses that no, Manny Pacquiao still won those fights. Despite losing 3 times via controversial decisions, he was winning, but he actually lost all those fights. Did Manny Pacquiao receive any death threats? No. It was never such a big deal until Marquez had to knock him out. That was the only way, which is actually why Bradley lost the second fight, because Bradley felt that he had to knock Manny Pacquiao, otherwise he's not going to get the decision, which I think it was his mistake. If you look at that fight, Bradley was outboxing Manny Pacquiao in the second fight, in the first half of the fight, and then he lost it from round 7, when he started looking for a knockout. Was looking for that punch, exactly the same punch that Marquez knocked out Manny. He was looking at that, and he could have easily scored that punch, but he was not perfecting it. It landed not cleanly, and basically it didn't land clean, but it was landing because Manny Pacquiao keeps throwing that jab, that right jab, and he's left himself wide open. But Bradley couldn't take that advantage, and Bradley shouldn't have actually tried to land that punch. He was still going to get the decision had he continued outboxing Manny Pacquiao like he did in the first round of the fight, the first half of the fight. Had he continued doing that, he was going to win the fight. But back to Floyd Mayweather, this guy never got credit. You know what is interesting? You take the older boxers, the guys who used to be champions, your Sugar Ray Leonard, Mike Tyson. They always pick Manny Pacquiao as the better boxer than Floyd Mayweather. I'll tell you why. Because remember I said this thing is a race-based thing. Now if you go back to that, you speak of Mike Tyson, you speak of Sugar Ray Leonard, you say these guys are black, then my argument is invalid. No, it's still valid, because you know how black people are. Black people don't like to see other black people moving forward, moving higher. Now these guys, these former boxers, your Mike Tysons, your Sugar Ray Leonard, they will pick Pacquiao because they feel threatened by Floyd Mayweather, because they're the big names. Those are the Hall of Famers, man. Your Mike Tysons. Everybody knew about Mike Tyson. Even people who never followed boxing, they knew about Mike Tyson. Now that thing is happening exactly with Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is reaching that status as well. Now they're threatened by that, and then they try to downgrade Floyd Mayweather as much as they can, saying Pacquiao is what did Mike Tyson say? Pacquiao is what did he say? What's the word? But he said he's looking more interesting of a fighter than Floyd Mayweather, or he's dominating his opponents more than Floyd is doing. But that doesn't mean shit in boxing. We all know that. Floyd Mayweather was criticized. They said he defeated Castillo, but it was a close fight, right? Castillo did well, much well against Floyd Mayweather than he did when he fought Ricky Hatton. Ricky Hatton easily beat Castillo, right? What happened when Floyd Mayweather fought Ricky Hatton? As they normally say, Floyd Mayweather is, they say Manny Pacquiao is far much better than Floyd Mayweather because Manny Pacquiao did an easier job to the opponents that Floyd struggled with. But that doesn't mean Manny Pacquiao is better than Floyd Mayweather. You can ask Oscar De La Hoya. De La Hoya scored a split decision loss against Floyd Mayweather, and he was knocked the hell out by Manny Pacquiao, but he still picked he still picked Floyd Mayweather Jr. to beat Manny Pacquiao. That's what happened, because Mayweather is so intelligent inside the ring that he's a very difficult fighter to beat. These boxers say it all the time. I mean, now the boxers in the ring, other boxers, most of them, they pick Floyd Mayweather to beat or to be even better than Manny Pacquiao. All of them, except the Hall of Famers, your Mike Tysons, your Sugar Ray Leonard, because they feel threatened by Floyd Mayweather. That's the only reason they're picking Manny Pacquiao. But the current boxers, most of them, they are picking Floyd Mayweather as the better boxer and will easily beat Manny Pacquiao. Right? Exactly. Because Manny Pacquiao is being credited for, these are the 3 fights, guys, I'm going to mention here. 3 fights that made Manny Pacquiao overshadow Floyd Mayweather Jr. so bad. He knocked out Oscar De La Hoya in the 8th round. He knocked out Ricky Hatton in the 2nd round. He destroyed Cotto. He destroyed Miguel Cotto in about in the 11th round or 12th round, I don't remember. I think it was 12th round. He knocked him out. These are the fights that got Manny Pacquiao so much credit. But what is interesting, when Floyd Mayweather was in the biggest fight in the boxing history with Oscar De La Hoya, people were saying, yeah, Oscar is old, he's over the hill, right? By the time Oscar was 34 years old and Floyd Mayweather fought in Oscar's terms, the fight was at 154, not a catchweight, 154, which is suited Oscar more than it did to Floyd. Oscar chose the everything, the size of the ring, the size of the gloves. And at the time, remember, Mayweather was actually number 1 pound for pound boxer at the time, but he submitted to all those demands by Oscar De La Hoya. Even the money split, Floyd Mayweather didn't receive any pay-per-views from that fight. But Floyd Mayweather is actually the one who doesn't get any credit for that. Before that fight, they were criticizing him for not selling. They were saying selling his fights were not selling. And then he took the risk. He submitted to all the demands from Oscar De La Hoya's camp. Even his gloves. You go back there, you will find that match on YouTube. That fight, who's this guy? Mayweather. Look at Mayweather's gloves. He was looking like a doll, man. The gloves are so big for this guy because they were chosen by Oscar, trying to make everything on his advantage. But no, Mayweather is criticized for fighting a 34-year-old. He was 30 years at the time. That's Floyd. He was criticized for fighting a 34-year-old in his comfortable weight. Much bigger Oscar. Mayweather didn't get any credit for that. Instead, he was discredited. Yeah, he fought this guy when he was old. But this guy, he's been calling out this guy for all these years. And HBO commentators, they were saying there's no need for Oscar to fight this guy because he's too risky and he's got nothing to gain out of that fight. This guy is not a pay-per-view star. It's just nothing he's going to gain. That's what they said. Even Mosley blatantly ducked Floyd in 2006 when he was called out. You know what he said? Mosley said, no, I had my... What did he say? He said something about his teeth. He's not 100%. He can fight Floyd in the following year. Not the same year, but in the same year he was going to fight again in November. That is November 2006. He was going to fight, but he was not going to be ready for Floyd. He was ready for another opponent, but not for Floyd. I mean, how do we justify that? And then in 2010, when Floyd Mayweather stepped up, after Mosley had destroyed Margarito, nobody was there to fight Mosley. Mayweather stood up and fought Mosley, and then he was blamed again. No, you waited for this guy to be out of his prime. Despite being Mosley is the one who actually ducked Floyd at the time. So to be Floyd Mayweather, you will never get any credit. Even now, they're saying they want a rematch with Maidana. For me, it does make sense for me. If that fight is the one that's going to make more money for Floyd, then he can take it. But if not, then I don't see a point, because he's going to outbox this guy. You know what we're going to say? Yeah, he was running. He was supposed to beat this guy in the first place. All those things. And we're still going to bitch about the first fight, the closeness of the first fight. As people are doing now, he lost this fight. That's what they're saying. He lost against Maidana. Mayweather is going to outbox this guy in September, and they're still going to be bitching about the first fight, just like as they're doing with the Castillo 1 fight. The fight, Mayweather defeated Castillo in the first fight, but it was competitive, very close. And then he went on to prove it in the second fight. No, but they're still bitching about the first fight. What's the point? What was the point of the second fight? Right? I'm gonna leave it there, guys. I just wanna make this video. It's getting too long now. 22 minutes already. I'm gonna come back and tell you about Manny Pacquiao, how he has cherry-picked his opponents, and he's getting credit for that. Nobody is saying anything about those things. And actually the Pactats, they want to cry when they listen to me talking about Manny Pacquiao, exposing the real truth about this guy. Sharp, guys.